Hello, my name is Maddie and you are watching True Summer Knits. This is my channel where I talk about knitting, fiber related arts, crafts, sewing, and whatever other stuff I want to talk about. So today we have a video that I'm actually very excited to do. This is hopefully going to be a new series kind of on my channel. So I was thinking, there's so many patterns that are released on Ravelry like every single day, and it's hard to sort through them, and it's hard to give like recognitions to patterns that we might not normally see. You know what I mean? So this month, the entire month of June, it's currently July 1st, I have been going through the newest published patterns on Ravelry every day and screenshotting the ones I like, and then today I sat down, I compiled them, and I picked about 15 that I really like that I want to show you guys and talk about them, so maybe we can discover some new patterns together. All of these were released in the month of June, and if this goes well, this would be a fun thing to do every month. Just round up some patterns that were released that month, and we can find some new stuff together. All right, so let's get started. By the way, I am wearing my Barbaro top again today. It is probably the only knit that I can currently wear in this weather. It's very breathable. It's made out of the pure silk. I talked about that in podcast episode number 5 if you want to hear more about it. First pattern we have today is called Top Lemon Curd by Christine Rouville. There's a lot of names today that I don't fully know how to pronounce, and some that I don't think I can even try. So no matter what, I will be putting the pattern name and the designer name up on the screen so you guys can look it up yourselves. This is a really beautiful classic tank pattern. Like, I feel like this is something that Petite Knit would create. It's a V-neck, it's got wider straps, so it would definitely be bra friendly if that's like a requirement to you. It has folded over hems, kind of like the camisole number 9 does by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I don't know if it's done in the same way. I was reading the pattern page and it seems like you do it with some kind of crochet hook. I'm not really sure how that works, but I'm sure it'll be an interesting technique to learn. From what I can tell, it appears to be possibly garter with these vertical stripes of stockinette or just knit stitches, but it's hard to tell exactly, and I don't own the pattern, but it just creates this really elegant, simple, relaxed stripe pattern. It's not too fitted, it's kind of flowy. I'm imagining it's got a little bit of positive ease, and it just looks like it'd be really comfortable to wear on like a really hot summer day. And I've never heard of this designer, but I think this looks awesome. So it's knitted in a sport weight yarn. The gauge is 25 stitches by 35 rows in the pattern stitch. You knit this pattern bottom up. It has split hems at the side. It's hard to tell from some of the photos, but she says that you knit back and forth using German short rows, I guess, to create the split hem, and then after that it's just in the round until you reach the armholes, and then like any other tank top, I'm gonna knit the front pieces flat, and then I'm imagining seaming them together, or maybe it could be like a Kitchener stitch situation. I'm not sure, but it is really pretty and I love it in that yellow color. I don't think I could personally pull off the yellow color. I'm just not a yellow girly. I wish I was. You guys were here for my dusty banana journey that didn't work out, but if you can pull off yellow, please knit the lemon curd top in this yellow. I think it is so beautiful. And the body is knitted on 3.25mm needles, and it looks like you use 3 millimeters for like the finishing bands, and you cast on with 3.5mm needles. So the next pattern we have is a really interesting one that came out this month that I really like. You guys, if you've been watching me, you know I really love lace and textures right now for my tank tops. I mean, hence the Barbaro top that I'm wearing right now. And this one is called I don't really know what that means, but it's a really pretty tank top. It's kind of similar-ish to the Audrey top or the Couture top by Sari Nordland. Just that kind of flat, almost halter, but not quite halter, straps with the thin I-cord straps. and it's mostly stockinette, but then up here, once you get to like the front and back panels, they have this textured kind of pattern. I don't think it's exactly lace. It looks like I'm not sure how she does the texture. She mentions twisted stitches in there, so I don't know if it's twisted, or she doesn't mention if there's cables. It doesn't look like there's eyelets, so I'm not quite sure how it is done, but it looks simple. It could be cables, or it just could be knits and purls. I'm not sure. And then the top will have an I-cord bind off, and then the I-cord, I'm guessing, is extended to make the straps. And she does say that the pattern is reversible, so it's the same front and back. So there's no shaping to make the back higher or the front lower. It's just the same both ways. And she also includes dart shaping on the front and back, I guess for a better fit. I've never knit anything with darts before. I've never knit anything where I felt like it was necessary, but I've definitely seen some tighter fit garments that seem like they benefit from it. So if I was interested in knitting this top sometime this summer, that would be a really interesting technique to try, because I really can't even conceptualize how knitting darts would go. But I would love to try it out, and this seems like an interesting pattern to do so. And this pattern, she calls it a lace weight yarn, but the gauge is 28 stitches by 28 rows, which to me is just like any kind of light fingering yarn, like a Knitting for Olive, merino, cotton merino, pure silk. I feel like you could use those yarns. It just might be a regional thing that they're calling it lace versus light fingering. And the body is knitted with 2.5 millimeter needles, and the finishing is done with 3.25 millimeter needles. And this pattern is $8 in United States money. I don't know why I had to think about that. So this next top is probably one of the coolest knitted garments that I've ever seen. I could not pull this off, and I would be very nervous to try to knit this, like spend a lot of time on it, because I don't know how it would look on me. But if you are cooler than me, or like chicer, with a better style, please knit this and style it so I can see this on somebody else, because I think this is the coolest like idea for a garment. So this is the knot top by Wool & Beyond. It is kind of what it says. It's like a loose sort of tube around the body. It's not very fitted, and then it connects to this long tube that is basically wound around your neck and tied to a knot to make like a halter style thing. And then it's got like two long straps coming from the back. So it's really elegant. Like this is like a date night top. I mean, it's just really beautiful. It's knit bottom up, and then you do decreases for shaping. And then the knot is basically, you literally just knit like a long tube in the round, and then I'm assuming she has instructions for how to tie it or the way to properly attach it. But that is really cool. I don't know how she got that idea. I would never have thought something like this could be knitted. But she also says this is sport weight yarn, but unlike the last pattern, this is also a fingering weight gauge. So I feel like for this one you could also use the Knitting for Olive yarns. She uses Isager Trio 2, so I don't know if that's considered a sport weight because it grows, but I would not normally consider 28 stitch gauge to be sport weight, but I'm sure you have a little bit of flexibility since it's not too fitted. This is knitted on 3 millimeter needles, and its sizes go from extra small to 4XL. So not all the patterns that I've selected for this video are garment patterns, and I have a few accessory patterns, and none of this list is in any particular order. But the next thing I want to talk about is a pair of socks that are extremely beautiful, and I'm extremely tempted to knit. These are the Summer Afternoon Tea Socks by Tracy. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. They are these beautiful cable socks, standard sock length, like mid-calf. It looks like they maybe have 2x2 or 3x2 ribs for the cuff, which I'm sure you could adjust if you don't like the look of that. I don't personally like the look of that. I'd probably just do 1x1 twisted rib like I would for any other sock. And then the stripes are made up out of these cables. She doesn't go too much into detail about how the pattern is knit. She does mention it's cabled, that's calls it a cable stripe pattern. So I can't really give too much info on how that pattern is created, but I can tell you it's really beautiful. It almost just looks like knits and purls until you look up close and you see that it is actually made up of tiny little cables. This is a sock pattern, so you don't need too much info with the gauge, but she recommends knitting it with 2.5 millimeter needles. It comes in 4 sizes, and it is knit top down with a heel flap and gusset. And this pattern is $3.50 USD. So this next pattern is a really cool t-shirt / leadless top, depending on the option that you choose to knit it in. Now, this is not something I feel like I could get away with in the summer just because it's DK weight. I've realized that anything over fingering weight, if it's knitted, I don't think I can get away with it in my summer. But I would be interested knitting this like in the early autumn. It's a really pretty t-shirt with almost this textured, it's not a yoke, but I can't think of a better word for like the sleeves and kind of around the neck. It crosses here, you'll see the picture, and it's got these textured knits and purl sleeves and around the back that it creates this really beautiful look. And this kind of cross that it creates here is also very slimming, I feel like it looks very flattering on the body. And I think it's meant to have no ease. I don't think it's like negative ease or positive ease. I think it's just meant to be casually fitted to your body. You know what I mean? So the gauge is, like I said, it's a DK weight yarn, knit it's 22 stitches by 30 rows in stockinette. It's got a lot of different options for sizing and fit. It goes from extra small to 5XL. She includes like different options to customize it to however you want it to fit you. Like you could do the shaping for the actual body. You can do straight, like an A line, or she also includes instructions for waist shaping if you do want it to be really fitted. And then, like I said, you can either knit it with sleeveless or short sleeves. Or, I guess theoretically you could knit it with long sleeves if you really wanted to. She calls it a U-shaped neckline. It kind of just looks like a crew neck to me. But I think it's really flattering, and I haven't seen much about this. I've just found it scrolling through the Noodle Ravelry, and I think it is really, really pretty and simple. It also reminds me of something that like Petite Knit would release, just like simple with some texture. It's really what I'm into right now. It looks like this is also knit with 4 millimeter needles and 3.75 millimeter needles. It doesn't specify. I'm guessing the 3.75 is for the rib or maybe the texture, and probably the stockinette's all knitted on 4.0 millimeter needles, but it doesn't specify for sure. And then the cost of this pattern is €8, and I don't really know how euros are formatted when you say them. I would say $8.30. I don't know, I'm guessing the Europeans don't have cents. 8.3 euros is how much this pattern costs. I convert that to whatever you need to understand it. So for all the other patterns on this list, I have been trying to do more, not so much underrated patterns, but I don't necessarily want to pick a pattern that everybody knows about to talk about unless I think it's really cool. But this one I think a lot of people have definitely heard of by now, but it's just such a good pattern that I feel like I have to talk about it. The mixed rib camisole by Florence Miller, or Handmade by Florence. I have been excited for this ever since she first talked about it. I even applied to test knit it, and obviously she had like 1 million people apply, so there was no hard feelings, but I am really excited to have this piece in my wardrobe. For me, I think this is going to be more of a fall top, because I did buy some knitting for Olive Merino, so I feel like this would be a nice piece like when it's just starting to cool down. So I think I might knit this in like late August, early September. But it's just this beautiful kind of boat neck top, sleeveless of course. She says the pattern is a mixture of twisted rib and wide rib. So yeah, it looks really beautiful. It's got optional waist shaping, and it is knit top down. I think she mentioned that you start knitting flat at the bottom of the upper back section, and then I think you knit up, knit down the straps here, and then somewhere here you connect in the round around the armholes, knit the rest of the body down, and then you're done. This pattern has a lot of negative ease. She says 10 to 15 centimeters, which, yeah, 10 centimeters is 4 inches. So 4 inches to 6 inches of negative ease, which is a lot. I always feel like you never really need that much negative ease, but it does look really good on her. The body is knit in 3mm needles, and the finishing, like the I-cord edges around the neckline and the armholes, are done in 2.75mm needles. And this pattern comes in 9 sizes. And the gauge is 30 stitches by 38 rows in the rib pattern. And she is charging £6 for this pattern. I am not gonna try to convert everything to USD. I'm just saying whatever it's listed as on Ravelry for the price. This next tank top I think is really beautiful and kind of fits in with all the lace and textured tank tops that I've been talking about really enjoying this summer, and I have not seen anyone mention it. So this is the Vola top by Einrum. I really don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not sure what language it is. The pattern does come in English, but I think it's available in some other languages. It looks like this is a yarn brand. I've never heard of them, but they use a yarn with that same name. So I'm guessing this is a yarn brand releasing a pattern to go with their yarns. I know that the yarn is a silk. It looks like a barrette silk, like Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. So you could probably just use that yarn just fine. It's also like a light fingering weight yarn. It has this beautiful, kind of like honeycomb stitch, sort of. It's all made out of knits and pearls. And then the I-cord, you have this I-cord strap that ties around the back of the neck, and it has like an open back, which I know is not for everybody, but I think it'd be really cute. I would just be worried. I would definitely want to make sure the fabric was dense enough so I can get away without like wearing a bra, you know, but I would like to have some kind of cover, even if I can't wear a full-on strapless bra. So if it was really holey, I feel like that would just look a little strange, you know? But it's really pretty, it's really gorgeous. I love it. It looks like they have a pattern for like matching shorts or something. I don't think I'd be interested in knitting that, but it's a cool idea in theory. The gauge is 25 stitches by 38 rows in that textured pattern. So you knit it top down. It looks like you start with the I-cord straps, and then you go towards these triangles in the front. Then you keep knitting down until you join at the chest and start knitting in the round. The sizes are, it goes from size small to 3XL, and it is knit on 3mm needles. And it costs €6 for this pattern. So this next pattern is actually pretty similar to the mixed rib cami. It's kind of similar in shape and similar in pattern, but I really feel like this designer is going to be one to watch. She also came out with the Haru Sweater this month, which isn't technically on the list, but I'll show you it anyway. It's based on the big white sweater that Rory wore in Gilmore Girls. But since this is more of a summery type selection that I've curated here, I'm going to show her tank top pattern that she released called the Naomi top, I believe. Yes, the Naomi top by Lena Tricot or Tricot. Like I said, it's similar to the mixed rib cami. It's kind of got that boat neck, or just, it's got that neckline where it's just a slit. So like I would call that a boat neck. And it's very fitted. It doesn't have the mixed rib like the other camisole does. It's just, it looks like a 4x2 rib all the way down. It doesn't mention if it has waist shaping or anything, but it does say that it's supposed to have 8 inches of negative ease. So in that case, I feel like you wouldn't need any waist shaping. I feel like it's perfectly shaped all by itself. I feel like 8 inches seems a little excessive, and I feel like maybe I would try to experiment sizing up a little bit. I don't know. It looks great on her. Now, this pattern is only available from sizes extra small to large, but she does mention in her description that it only goes to those sizes because she couldn't get testers for anything bigger. So if you are bigger than a size large and you're interested in knitting this pattern, she does include her email on the pattern description, and it looks like you can just email her and she'll send you the pattern if you're willing to, you know, give feedback on it. But it's knitted with 3.5mm needles. It's she calls it a sport weight. It's 21 stitches by 38 rows. So that the gauge is always a little different when you're doing rib like that. So I'm not sure if it is truly a sport weight. In that case, I probably would personally go for the mixed rib cami myself, because like I said, I don't like using really anything over a fingering weight yarn for these summer tank top projects. But if you're somewhere less hot and you like the style of this better, it would definitely be a really good option for you. And it is knit bottom up. And this pattern costs €5. This next tank top pattern is called the tikva top by Lydia Huff. It is a really interesting, just simple camisole. It kind of reminds me of the pie camisole. It's just got the thicker straps, the thicker band at the top, and it's got this like waffle stitch pattern, textured pattern all throughout. It's very simple, but I feel like very, very effective. I really like tops like this. It's a fingering weight yarn held double, which means it's kind of out of the running for me again. But if you like DK weight summer tops, this would definitely be a really cute one. She actually recommends holding knitting for olive merino with the pure silk, which I don't really understand why you would do that personally. I imagine you could also just hold the merino double or the cotton merino double. I don't know what benefits you get from holding it with the pure silk, but if anyone's done that before, let me know. I'm interested in see why you would do that over just holding the same yarn double. And the gauge is 21 stitches by 35 rows in the waffle stitch pattern. It's worked bottom up, it's meant to be bra friendly, and it includes instructions for either a cropped length or a regular length. And it costs €7.5. I could probably look up how to say that, but hopefully someone will comment it and I'll know better for next time. So this next tank top was briefly on the Ravelry hot page, but I think it went off after a little while. This is actually a free pattern, which I think is really pretty. I did download the pattern just to look through it. Looks to be well written. It does have pictures in there, which is interesting. You never really see patterns with pictures these days. And it's just a simple V-neck, all over lace top, I-cord straps. She says it's a sport weight yarn. I feel like you could just use like a knitting for all of pure silk or a fingering weight yarn for this and be just fine, because the gauge is 26.5 stitches by 38 rows. And to me, that sounds like I could easily use a fingering weight yarn to get that gauge. Like I said, pattern's free. It looked well put together to me. She has 2 samples in the pictures, and my personal favorite is the purple one. I think it's so cute. I cannot pronounce this designer's name, so I'm just gonna put it on the screen with the picture. And it's knitted with 3mm needles, and it comes in 8 sizes. You start with the straps, you knit the 4 triangles, like a lot of tank tops, and then you connect in the round, and you just knit in the round until you get to the bottom. The last 2 garment patterns I have are less summery, but they were released in the month of June, and I really like them, so I'm gonna show them anyway. The first one we have is the Cherub Cardigan, which is this really beautiful cardigan. It's got this, it's like a V-neck cardigan. It's pretty simple, it looks kind of cropped, and then it's just got this simple outline of a textured, it kind of looks like cables, but I don't think it is cables. It's just this textured band around the button band and then around the sleeves, and it is just really beautiful. It's a worsted weight yarn. I think she recommends Valley Yarns Northampton. The gauge is 16 stitches by 24 rows. This one is actually seamed and it's worked flat, so you knit the 2 front panels because it's a cardigan, you knit the back panel, you seam them together at the shoulders, and then the sleeves are knitted bottom up from the cuff in the round, and then seamed together at the shoulders with the rest of the cardigan. So if you really don't like seaming or knitting things flat like that, this might not be the pattern for you, but I think it's really beautiful and unique looking. It's meant to have like a relaxed fit, so it's supposed to have 15 to 20 centimeters of positive ease-ish. You could easily size up or down depending on how you want it to fit. And it's knit on 4 and 5mm needles. It comes in the sizes extra small to 5XL. It looks so great on all of the samples. It has these really interesting button choices. I feel like you could really make this stand out with like the color or with your button selection. I just think this is a really unique piece that I feel like I haven't seen others too similar to it. And it costs £7. This next pattern is also maybe a slightly more popular one, but I've been in love with this pattern since she first started teasing it. So I'm gonna include it anyway. This is the Haru Sweater by Knits by Summer. It's this really beautiful all over cable pattern with these tiny little delicate cables, knit with a fingering weight wool held with a mohair. So like knitting for olive merino and soft silk mohair, or I think she did hers in the Sanisgarn tin pier gint with the tin silk mohair, I think. But the gauge is 31 stitches by 30 rows in that cable pattern. Knit on 4mm needles with 3mm needles for the finishing rib. It comes in 5 sizes, and she mentions that the cables they're in these opposite directions, and so you cable every other row. So it seems like it'd be an engaging pattern. It doesn't look like it changes up too much, so I imagine it'd be easy to just kind of get in the rhythm of it. But I've never knit an all over cable garment like that. Obviously it's way too hot to knit that right now. When the autumn comes around, this will be one of the sweaters I knit this year for sure. It's meant to have positive ease, and it is 12 Canadian dollars. So I have 2 more patterns today, and they are both accessory patterns. This first one is a really pretty scarf. Now, I'm not usually like a scarf or a shawl knitter, and if you're my mother-in-law, click away at this part because I'm about to reveal something that I don't want you to know yet. I wanted to knit my mother-in-law a scarf for her birthday or Christmas, which are around the same time. I had one pattern picked out that I thought would be really beautiful, and then I saw this pattern pop up in the new to Ravelry, and I fell in love with it. I want one of these for myself. It is so beautiful. It's knit with 1 strand of silk mohair. It looks like it's just a big rectangle basically. The middle part of the rectangle is all stockinette, and then it has these 2 really delicate, like flowery lace borders around it. And I really want to knit one just like the sample for her, like in a baby pink. I know she would love it. It's so beautiful and like feminine. I just imagine it'd be so nice in like the cooler autumn days. And from what she says on the pattern description, it only takes 2 balls of silk mohair. So that would be a good thing if you think you would use it. If you have like a couple balls left from a sweater project or something, that would be a great way to use up the scraps. The lace is both written and charted, so if you prefer one or the other, you have both options there. Personally, I like my lace charted, but I know it depends. The gauge is 23 stitches by 30 rows, and it's knit on 2.75mm needles, and it costs $6 USD. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know I have talked about how much I love the idea of little lacy headbands, especially ones that are knit in the same yarn or same lace pattern you might have used to knit like a tank top. So this is a free little pattern for a little lace headband, and I saw that and I was like, I have to recommend this. This is adorable. I definitely want to knit this myself. It's knit in like those fingering weight yarns that you'll use for a tank top. So you could knit one to match your tank top in the same color. Doesn't look like it'll require much yarn. This is the Rose Cotton Headband by Bodil Mattson. Like I said, it's a light fingering weight yarn, same one you use for a tank top. It's just very delicate. It's knitted on 2.5mm needles, and it is another free pattern. It's just knit flat, you got the lace, you got a little tiny border, and then you just knit the long I cords however long you need them to be so you can tie them around your little head. And just like the last one, this is also lace written instructions or charted instructions, depending on whichever you prefer. Now this last one is just a little cute pair of socks that I saw and fell in love with. I know summer's maybe not the best time to be knitting socks, but I feel like if you're gonna knit socks in the summer, a pair like these is perfect. It is just these cute little ankle socks with these little tiny flower color work around the cuff and around the bottom of the foot. This pattern is called the Lightweight Sock by Lizzie. It looks like you can actually buy a kit for these if you're interested. A website called blackeryarns.co.uk sells kits for these, and the kits come with their bamboo sock yarn, which doesn't seem to have nylon in it. It looks like it's a bamboo wool blend, which would be interesting to try. I feel like it would feel pretty nice in the summer, I'm imagining. And it looks like it has a slip stitch heel flap. It's pretty simple. It's knit, cuffed down, and it costs £5. And I definitely want to knit these with maybe some scraps I have, because obviously you really don't need much for that contrast color. So it looks like you could just maybe, I mean, it's a pair of ankle socks, so it probably wouldn't require much yarn. So this would be an easy thing to knit up with some spare scrap sock yarn. So that was 15 patterns that came out in June 2024, this month, that I really liked and I wanted to share. Of course, there were like 100 pages of patterns released on Ravelry this month, so this is not an exhaustive list at all. If you know of any patterns that came out this month that you really like, that I didn't talk about, or you feel like aren't getting enough recognition, post them in the comments below. We can use this as an opportunity to share some new patterns that we might not have seen otherwise. But yeah, hopefully this is something we can do at the end of the month, every month, and we can get some patterns out there that might not otherwise have gotten a chance to shine. But if you like this, please subscribe. I post knitting videos and podcasts, and I would love to see you again next time. So have a wonderful day. Bye.